The Atlanta Braves take down the Detroit Tigers 10-1 for their 6th consecutive win, their longest winning streak of the season. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Locked On Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. Jake Mastroianni, it's his son's birthday. The party is not yet done, so he's not here with us tonight. But I want to talk about Atlanta's 10-1 win over the Tigers. A couple different things we're going to get to. We're going to talk about the fact that 6 games is their longest winning streak of the season. What is it doing to the odds of getting a high draft pick in the lottery this winter? We're going to talk about the player of the game, and I actually want input from you. If you're here on YouTube with us live, drop in the chat who you think the player of the game is, because there's a couple different arguments you can make for a couple different guys here. But before we do that, I want to talk about the turning point of this game and really what ended the day for Charlie Morton.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
The joke here is that Uncle Charlie was actually the player of the game for the Braves. Charlie Morton records 4 outs, 6 runs on 5 hits, gives up a 3 spot in the first, but the second inning really kind of showed the issues with Charlie Morton and some of the Braves players being better than they've been recently. So Nacho Alvarez leads off the inning with a ground ball, gets a cutter down, 2 really good pitches from Charlie Morton. Fastball down that he takes. Morton goes back to that exact same spot with a cutter, and Nacho soft ground ball to third, beats it out, base hit. After Jurickson Profar grounds out, which pushes Nacho over to second, Matt Olson gets a double to right. Not incredibly well hit, like 80 miles an hour off the bat, but it was something where Morton went curveball, four-seam curveball, all below the zone, and Matt got that last curveball. It stayed up just enough for him to make contact with, right? And then from there, Ronald Acuna Jr. comes up, and Charlie Morton, 4 pitches to Ronald, all 4 are in the strike zone. Not a single one is a curveball. And Jake and I have talked on here before about how there are issues, like Ronald Acuna Jr.'s had issues with fastballs at times this season. Morton goes fastball down, Ronald fouls it off. Change up to the exact same place, Ronald fouls it off. Four-seam fastball up, but not up far enough. It's like belt high, outer third, Ronald fouls it off. And then he leaves a fastball middle of the plate as far as height goes, but on the outer third, and Ronald just launches it to right center. And that's the final pitch that Charlie Morton throws in this game. I don't know if we all realize how good Ronald's been recently, because Ronald's been slumping for a little while, right? Ronald's been struggling a little bit to have some decent production, as Jake comes in. Welcome in, Jake. But Ronald here, last 7 games, Ronald's hitting .385 with 2 homers. And in the last 15 games, he's hitting .288 with 5 RBI, 9 runs scored. Jake, does it feel like Ronald Acuna Jr. is back? Or does it feel like this is just, he's had a good week and a half maybe? He gets a home run tonight, doesn't do much else, but it's his 2nd home run in the last week.
It's just kind of funny. We think Ronald's gone into a slump, but look, he's been bad and he had a bad stretch there. But even normally in his bad stretches, he's still a really good player. Yeah. And so I never worried about Ronald Acuna Jr. I don't think many people did. And I've said it before. I think he is a player. He feeds off that emotion, and he wears his emotions on his entire body. And you can see it when he's struggling and he's frustrated. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's a human element too. I mean, his team's out of it. He's never not known the postseason. Lindsay, he's never not known, except for the years that he was hurt and out. Yeah. He's never
and one of those, they won a World Series.
Yeah, and he was part of it in the dugout and pumped up. So like, this is new territory for him. I was thinking about it today. We celebrated my son's 7th birthday tonight. He's never not known a Braves postseason. It's a weird year for him too. He doesn't know what to do. So yeah, I never really worried about Ronald. I mean, 3 hard hit balls tonight. It's just like, don't get it wrong. He definitely hasn't been Ronald, but like I said, even the lesser version of him is still a pretty good player. So I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, and something I do want to point out, and Sound FX in the chat has a great thing here. Elder, he's voting for Elder for player of the game. I asked the chat to kind of give me some votes here, but watching that made me a little bit sad for Charlie Morton, is what he says, and I kind of agree. The fact that Charlie wasn't really willing to go to the curveball in the 2nd inning against the Braves, I know he got back around to the order again, so he was seeing them for a second time, but the fact that he didn't apparently trust the curveball when that's been the pitch, more so than any other pitch, that saved Charlie Morton's career and made him into the guy that he was, makes me a little bit concerned that this may end up being the final season of Charlie Morton. And if it is, the Braves got out 1 year, early, right? We've seen too many situations where you bring a guy back and they just fall off a cliff. But always going to be a little bit sad to see that version of Charlie Morton, because he was so good for the Braves for so long. And somebody who's had a chance to sit down and talk to him for different media stuff. He's the best person to talk to you because he's so open and honest, and he'll talk for 20 minutes and just give you all of his time. Just a great dude. So happy the Braves got the win. Sorry that it came at the expense of Charlie Morton. Yeah,
somebody that I said in the offseason didn't want to bring him back for $15 million. I think that's what he got in that deal. It was just, I'd love to have him back at even just 10 or 12 million just because of his leadership. I thought would have been fine. Certainly not the 20 million mark the Braves were paying him. And he got off to the dreadful start, and then it was nice to see him kind of bounce back in May and June. But ever since then, it's been more 4.5 plus pitcher, and it kind of looks like this might be it for Charlie, which he wants to coach. You want to come over and be in the Braves organization? I think Braves will be fine with that. Certainly love the guy. That's why they kept paying him $20 million a year, even though his numbers weren't maybe reminiscent of a $20 million pitcher. But I hate to see him go out like that. But like you said, at least the Braves got to do it and got to benefit from it.
Yeah. And ultimately, good day for the offense in general. 11 hits, 10 runs. Everybody but Marcell Ozuna and Michael Harris had hits in this one. Ozzy Albies actually had 3, and I want to get your thoughts on this. We had a listener question. So Dr. Rachel Johnson's a big fan of both of our content and all of our stuff. And she sent me a question. Her 6-year-old Micah wants to know, and he actually drew a photo that she sent me on social media to go along with it, from Micah, 6-year-old Micah. Do you think Ozzy Albies will be a Brave next year? He is my favorite player. And I do think Micah won. Ozzy Albies is coming back. And you can look at what he's done in the second half of the year, Jake. He's been, as he gets farther away from that wrist injury, he's been so much more reliable from a base hit perspective. He's gotten better at drawing walks, best walk rate of his career this year. And the power is getting better the farther away he is from that injury. Somebody asked me on social media, do you think that Nacho Alvarez could potentially have a similar move next year as he gets farther away from his wrist injury?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about that.
Me either. I know.
And
we have
that's
the
probably
best listeners, Jake.
Yeah, and that's probably why either they want to send him to the AFL too. To just see him kind of get further removed from that. Now, look, Nacho's never shown that power ability that Ozzy has. So
right.
Even if the wrist is fully healthy, he did at least in the second half of 2024 at Gwinnett, and then he had the wrist injury in spring training. So maybe that was it. But before that stint at Gwinnett, we had never really seen the power from Nacho. But yeah, that is a good point. And for Ozzy, yeah, I almost feel better about him next year at this point than I do Michael Harris, even after his hot stretch, because we were seeing a more patient Ozzy Albies throughout. We just weren't seeing that power that we were used to seeing. And, now that's kind of coming too. So I do think he'll be there. I always thought they'd pick up the option anyway, because it just never made sense. So yeah, Micah, don't worry, bud. I think Ozzy's going to be back next year in Braves uniform.
We've got you. All right. In just a minute, I want to talk about the player of the game. Remember, if you're watching live on YouTube and you haven't voted, put that in the chat real quick, as well as what you're going to be talking about coming out of this game. We'll do that next right here on the Braves Postcast. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine or caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and that hand-to-mouth habit without smoking. Zippix can also be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. It's available in 6 great flavors with both 2 and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. I use the caffeine toothpicks every weekend. I stay up to host MLB Game Night live here on YouTube at the end of the final West Coast game being done. Zippix toothpicks give me the energy without the jitters and a bunch of really fun flavors. Cinnamon spearmint, bourbon flavor. They even have a peppermint watermelon. So go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Now, must be 21 or older to order. And a warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com, ZIPPIX, promo code locked on. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix toothpicks. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in, because with football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing Prize Picks lately. It's such a fun and entertaining way to stay locked in for the NFL season. It's quick, it's easy, and honestly, kind of my favorite way to follow along with football. I do really enjoy it in the postseason as well, the MLB postseason, because you just know there's dudes out there who are going to step up in October, and it's fun to jump in there, check their projections, and be like, yeah, I think that's likely to happen. So download the Prize Pick app today. Use code LOCKEDINMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDINMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, Jake. So looking at this game, we have all the votes in the chat, and with all due respect to Charlie Morton, who got votes for player of the game, we do have a very kind of obvious answer here.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
I'm not going to lie. Those graphics are starting to grow on me a little bit. It's fun to hit the button. Bryce Elder, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, no walks to 6 strikeouts. And you and I have both talked about this, Jake, that Bryce Elder's always been, like, not always, but recently been, when the highs are high, the lows are very low. And his ERA is still over 5 for the year because he's been blown up so much. But while he's not playing his way into the opening day rotation next year, it almost feels like I'm starting to wonder, does he legitimately have more trade value than we're expecting if Atlanta wanted to try to do that, simply because he leads the team in innings, he leads the team in starts, he seemingly never gets hurt. And since the start of August, he's like second in baseball in quality starts. Is this something where a team could give you a legitimate asset to take a cost-controlled Bryce Elder off your hands? Or is that a bad idea?
Especially if he's out of options too. I know we've talked about that. I think it definitely makes it a bigger possibility that he could be traded to a team that just, maybe not a contender, but a team that just needs some innings and needs some depth in the rotation. I don't know that you're getting anything much valuable in return. But even if you got like a solid, if you got a Tyler Kinley, like somebody like that, I mean, I think that could benefit the Braves, who we're hoping is going to go out and find upgrades to Bryce Elder in the offseason, right? We're hoping they're going to find some better depth pieces for the starting rotation. So if you're going to do that, then yeah. And like I said, if Bryce Elder's out of options, I think it makes him a very strong trade candidate. And with the way he's finished the season, helping the Braves in that fashion, I don't know that many teams are going to be, buy into it. He's got the most quality starts at the last 2 months of the season or anything like that, and pay a high price. They're not giving you a top shortstop. You're not getting Cole Emerson or anything for him. But yeah, I think there could be some potential trade value there for him. And again, when he's good, more 4-seamers, that's what I always talk about here. And a lot of them, at the top of the zone or above it. I think that makes a big difference in his success if he's able to get that pitch, and raise that eye level, and great success with it in this one.
He threw one of them last season, but I still think Bryce could be one of those. I've got all three fastball guys at a cutter, can be all three fastball guys to help kind of keep guys off of, if you see, something up, something down, kind of change some eye levels with some different things there. All right. There's one more thing that I've seen a lot of questions on social media in the chat here that one of the big takeaways I have from this game is about Ha-Seong Kim.
This is what you'll be talking about.
So Ha-Seong Kim hits a home run tonight. Second home run as a member of the Braves. And in 16 games with Atlanta, he's now hitting .316 with a .375 on base and a .439 slug. And a lot of the reading I've been doing from national folks, whether it's the people at MLB Trade Rumors, The Athletic, all that kind of stuff, a lot of the sentiment from the national writers has all started to turn to it would be kind of foolish for Ha-Seong Kim to pick up the option because he's looking good. It's a 16-game sample, but he's looked really good in Atlanta. Offense has been better than his defense. But then also, Bo Bichette's defense has been horrible, and now he's on the injured list with the recurrence of some of the lower body injuries that bothered him last year. This increasingly to me, and I want to get your opinion here, this increasingly to me feels like if Ha-Seong Kim is back next year, it's because Atlanta gave him a multi-year deal. Like at this point, I don't think you get $16 million Ha-Seong Kim for 1 year.
Yeah, AA's got to be working the phones right now with Mr. Scott Boras, unfortunately, because I think if you are going to keep him around, you're going to have to try to get a deal done because we said it when we signed him. We're like, he's going to pick it up unless he just goes off in September. Well, I mean, he's not met Olsen.
He's going off in
September, but he's going off. And because of where the shortstop free agent market is, and as you mentioned with Bo Bichette, I mean, most people don't think Bo Bichette's going to stay at shortstop long term anyway.
Exactly.
Ha-Seong Kim's going to be that cheaper, maybe even better option at shortstop. Maybe not offensively, but certainly defensively. Even though I know he hasn't. We've been used to watching Nick Allen play there all year, but I still think he's going to be above average there defensively. And I'm getting a little bit more worried about it too, to the point where you're probably going to have to work with Scott Boras if you want to keep him around. Yeah,
and that's just in contrary to popular belief, the Braves have signed a Scott Boras client under Alex Anthopoulos. And I just blanked. It's the pitcher they signed mid-season in the late 2010s, Dallas Keuchel. Dallas Keuchel was a Scott Boras client, but that's the last time they signed a Scott Boras client. So it's not that they are fundamentally opposed to working with Scott Boras. It's the things that he wants in the deals are fundamentally opposed to the things Atlanta wants in deals. Atlanta wants club options.
A player option. They don't give those out.
Boras wants a player option. Boras wants no trade clauses. The Braves don't give those out. They want shorter deals with higher AAVs, and Atlanta wants to keep the AAV down to 22 million or less. And so they're willing to go, 3, 4, 5 years. Boras has done a lot of guys. What was it? Alex Bregman got 3 at 40 million apiece with Boston, and he's got opt-outs and all that stuff in there. So I think that's where I am on this is if everybody's asked, it's not going to happen. Like you're not, I don't think you're going to get him on the $16 million thing. And unfortunately that's just kind of because he's gotten hot this month and that's where you are.
And because of the market. I mean, the market's a big part of it. If it was the market year that, Danza became a free agent, I think it was, there was a ton of shortstop, Trey Turner and all that, or the one with Willie Adames too. There was a lot of shortstops, or maybe no, Willie was the only one. I think it was the year with Dansby. There was a lot of shortstops, Xander Bogaerts, all of those guys. Might have been a different topic. And also we talked about it too, the lockout. Like you don't know what's going to happen there. If you can go ahead and get guaranteed, future money, and that it just makes more sense. But I know somebody asked about Profar. Would that make a difference? I think that helps. Him being there, not only do they get along and all that, but I definitely think that could help. Certainly can't hurt, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to money. And if Scott Boras thinks he can get a penny more in a free agency, he's going to go for it.
Is Profar being his best friend offset by the fact that the Falcons cut Younghoe Koo today? Does that hurt? Because they had a big thing where they exchanged jerseys and all that like a week and a half ago at Truist Park. That doesn't help. All right. So tomorrow's matchup, Heads up on the time. It's a 1:10 p.m. Eastern start. So they're trying to, they're doing a little different timing because of football and everything. Joey Wentz versus Kyler Montero. Atlanta took care of the Charlie Morton revenge game today. Joey Wentz, this will be his first start against the Tigers since they got rid of him. I think it was earlier this year or late last year. So kind of heads up on that. Again, that game's at 1:10. We'll be back to break down that game for you. We'll get you in and out so you can get back to your college football. But in the meantime, again, Braves win this one 10-1 over the Tigers, thanks to 3 home runs. Do us a favor. If you're listening on audio, 5-star review would be awesome. Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. Leave Jake's son a happy birthday message in your review. That's great. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to both Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. Hit the notification bell so that you know when we go live, talk about all this stuff. And let's continue to make the AL Central interesting. The Guardians have been a juggernaut. The Tigers have been slumping. Let's make this division a little bit closer tomorrow. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been Braves Postcast.